welcome here on October the 12th, 2015. Welcome to Great O'Clock. This is a very, very special evening because we have a very special host sitting here with us. Mr. Fred Oban is in the building, leadership coach and trainer and writer and just all around awesome human being. Is going to sit in with us tonight as we talk about.
I feel humbled. It's a new feeling for me.
As we talk about experts and gurus, fact or fiction. I've been waiting for this one. I think I may lose a few followers, but it's okay. If I step on your toes, I meant to. Just understand that. Fred, why don't you tell the people who you are and a little bit about you?
Well, I'm not a guru or a maven or a leaderista or I'm the CEO and founder of the Strategic Red Team Consulting. Most of my business is in the realm of business wargaming, business red teaming, strategy development, competitive intelligence, and things like that.
Uh-oh, did
for
we lose
synchronous.
Fred? Okay.
And that's why those two things are my passion. The causality of all the other things that go on well in the business world.
Awesome. Welcome, Mr. Smith, D. Scott Smith in the house. How are you, sir? All right. And I guess I will do my introduction. I am Gerald DuBose. My company is the New Wealth Order. We work with individuals really on two levels. One of our primary focus, our primary focus is working with entrepreneurs, helping them cultivate a winning culture and implement their values into their sales and marketing systems so that they can increase profitability. That's what it's all about, adding money to the bottom line through proper structure and proper instruction. So this topic, oh my gosh, I feel like this one's going to get a little hot in here for it. So
well, we've touched on it before.
Yes.
And if I knew you were going to make me a co-host tonight, I would have dressed up. I would have shaved maybe. It's Thanksgiving Day here. I mean.
Oh, that's right. It is Thanksgiving there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got a choice between being Columbus Day or being Thanksgiving Day and eating turkey. Which would you choose, right? I mean.
Oh, I'm eating turkey, even though I feel that Columbus was a turkey, but that's personal opinion. So, hey, Spidey Sean, how you doing, brother? Hey, Mr. Morgan J. Ingram, the Liberation Sensation in the house. So, oh yeah, this one's gonna get hot in here, man. So we want to talk about gurus and experts. Okay, gurus and experts. We're getting into some slight semanticism here. Yeah, I think it will be, Sean. I think it will be because I think some people are going to be bothered a little bit tonight. So it's okay; they can be bothered. Experts and gurus. I wanted to address this because, especially in the online world, you see these terms used so heavily in all of the marketing. This is so-and-so expert, and this one is the guru of this, and this one is the expert or the maven. And, you know, it's a pretty interesting thing to me, because when I look at it and, you know, for some of the people that don't know, I am a poet. I love words. I've been playing with words since I was in the sandbox. They were my first friends. So for me to hear people talking of experts and gurus, it kind of scratches something inside of me, like literally, like hurts a little bit, because just because you have experience in something doesn't necessarily mean you're good at it. And that would be what it would take to be an expert, so to say. Expertise is based on experience, based on your understanding and knowledge and all of that. But why is it that only in the genre of certain business realms do people feel that it's necessary to say they're an expert? You know, you have doctors, admired profession. Do you hear somebody say they're a heart expert? No. They're specialists. They specialize in a certain type of medicine. Lawyers, vast, vast, broad topic, law. Do you hear them say they are a divorce expert? They specialize in divorce. They specialize in contract law. They specialize in business law. They don't call themselves the lawyer guru of divorce. Yes, people use people use terms they haven't heard that oh, this or that works. Yeah. So they gravitate to something to feel important, I think. And I'm going to pass it off to Fred. And
It's some self-branding that's going on, and I think Sean made a very good point here. So the issue is those who are labeled or self-proclaimed with these terms and who really don't know it. Well, generally, if somebody calls you an expert and you have the gravitas and experience that corresponds with that, generally you can probably start calling yourself an expert. But calling yourself an expert from the get-go may not necessarily, maybe just be some reasonable imagination on your part. Mm-hmm. And there are lots of business professions that do have a degree of accreditation to them.
Yes.
Coaching of which is one. It doesn't mean that to be a good coach, you must be accredited. Not necessarily. I know some great coaches who are not accredited. But people who call themselves a coach but have just started doing it without accreditation, I kind of wonder about that. It's like people who call themselves strategists. A lot of guys here are social media strategists here on Blab. We're wallowing in them here, and I find the use of the term kind of unique. So you go look at their LinkedIn profile and you go, I'm not sure what makes this guy a strategist, because generally people who are accredited strategists, they have a strategic studies degree. They've done it, in the business world. They may have an MBA or two tucked away in their back pocket from the business world. Generally don't use the term, use a definitive term in front of the term strategist, mm-hmm. Right? You can be a social media planner, you can be a marketing specialist, et cetera, but generally strategists are just strategists all by themselves. They generally don't require adjectives or descriptors. So you see a lot about this. I mean, I'm still sitting on the fence post about where Blab is going. We had this conversation last week. Says, are you going to invite some clients to Blab? Hell no, not yet. It requires an awful lot more discipline, because there's a lot of people out there proclaiming that they are things that, after you discuss things with them for 5 minutes, you go, I'm not too sure about that. So as it grows and matures, maybe that'll change. Twitter was the same way 5-6 years ago, right? And still is to some degree. So, I'd say if someone calls themselves a guru or a strategist, put it to a litmus test. Ask some skill testing questions. If they're a leadership expert or leadership guru, first question should be, what have you led? Where did you lead it? So, get back to that experience thing. That's, Oban's thoughts on this, and not necessarily shared by all.
Exactly. And that's why I wanted this to be a discussion, because I feel that words are very powerful in this world.
Especially when people are spending money.
Yes, absolutely. And, going there with experts and all that stuff, listen, because most people just say it because they have experience at something. And that's why I want to address that. Everybody, I'm going to talk to my man John and Morgan. Well, I'll talk to everybody at the same time. Most of us have people in our family that worked on cars. Almost everybody has somebody in their family that worked on cars. They did it on the side. They didn't have a shop. They have plenty of years of experience. Expertise in Blab.
Yeah, there's a good one. Yeah, who's an expert in Blab? I'm a 35-day expert in Blab.
Yeah, Blab hasn't even been around 6 months.
Good point.
And you're an expert. Okay, yeah, that's funny. The thing is,
it's not funny. It's true.
I'm guru. Look at Sean. I love it. So the thing I'm saying is, I had 2 to 3 cousins, about 3 or 4 uncles that worked on cars. They had years of experience. Again, that didn't mean they were good at it because you have experience. There are a lot of young people that come out and run circles around them in the very field that they have more experience than them in. You know, look at pro athletes. Rookies come in the league and shake up the whole league. These people have experience. They have all the knowledge, well, supposedly all the knowledge, and understand the system better than these people, but are not able to perform the job as efficiently as someone else. So would you still call them an expert because they have the experience? I think we start treading on thin ice when we start to try to just bloviate. I will just call it what it is. We bragging on ourselves. I'm an expert because I've been doing this for 20 years. I've been doing sales since the age of like 16 years old. I'm not calling myself an expert.
But you still do coaching and sales, considering that your experience is there.
Exactly.
People's bullshit detector usually goes off in the first 5 minutes of discussion. But it's interesting. Blab is kind of interesting this way, and when you look at where's the start state for expertise? Where's the start state for specialists? And there's some people who've made their bones outside of Blab, right?
Yes, absolutely.
We've had a few of them on as guests. Folks like Blair Glaze or Dan Forbes, folks like that. Yeah. And they bring a particular experience, a particular gravitas to that. If they don't call themselves experts, rest assured that pretty much everybody else is. Mm-hmm. Then there's a lot of social media experts that you can find here sitting on Blab. And I just for the fun of it, because I've got guys who do this, I said, give me a competitive cross-section of most of the people who are on Blab. Bam. And gives the intern something to do. And they said there's something like 15 to 20% of the Blab population lives on Blab 24 hours a day, and it does not matter what the subject is, they're in there as an expert on something. Now, if you want to live on Blab for entertainment purposes and live there for 24 hours a day and get into the whole virtual Care Bear routine, knock your socks off. But when you're giving advice to people, be careful. Good example, a week ago last Sunday, you had a young lady from New Zealand come on and ask questions about sales. And it was an interesting discussion to watch. And you yourself are watching not just the young lady in question, but the advice that she's being given by everybody here.
She's actually here. Susan, she's right there.
You got some very good advice. But there was some where I wasn't decent that night. I had a big workout, so I wasn't going to jump on. But I was watching when some of the advice seemed to, go on the rails a bit, and you've got to be the world's worst poker player because your facial expressions are giving you away. So, okay, thank you very much for that. But it was like, okay, so you have, in the most part, when people are giving, she's from the UK. No, sorry, I got the accent wrong. I'm Canadian, so you can blame me. We don't speak like anybody. So when you saw that that advice that she was being given, I would say like 80% was good, cogent, prima facie sort of advice. They're being given to her by experienced business people. Yes. There was other 20% that was wow out there. Now, you actually were able to bring it back online in a lot of cases, and I think that's a lot of it really is the power of the host, knowing when to hit the get off the Blab button. That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. What is the banana, Mike Hunt? That is hilarious. What is the banana, dude? All right. I want to open up the seat now. I would love to get some other people's feedback because I think this is a hot button. Spidey Sean has been here for a minute. I'd love to get him or Susan. Yeah, looking good, feeling good. This is going to be an interesting thing. I hope people don't get too upset. If they do, I meant to step on your toes.
Well, if they don't, then you're not doing your job right. Exactly. I mean, that's the whole raison d'etre for doing this, right? Is to not necessarily be disruptive, but also to be have a cogent discussion about these things.
Absolutely.
And if people can't accept, if people can't defend whether they're an expert or a guru or a maven or whatever, then this is probably not a bad forum to prove that.
I know who's good for this topic. I know Robert will be in here. I'm quite sure he's coming. I have no doubt that Robert C. Stern will be in here in a minute.
Which Robert do you refer to?
Robert C. Stern. I'm quite sure he does.
Know the gentleman.
He does the football blab with me. So and Robert.
I know he's on blah blah. Yeah, I've seen his picture. Yeah.
All right. Well, we have somebody ready to jump in, and Walter is always my man. He's always the first to jump. He never has a problem pushing the button. That's why I love Walter.
Well,
hey, my man Walter, how are you, bro?
Okay, how are you? Thank you very much. I want to tell you that probably the only thing I might be an expert at is giving out my cards in the street in Manhattan, because I've given out over 5 million cards, and I don't know anyone else who's done that or even come close to doing that. So expert is, people call themselves expert, I think, in order to be able to use that as credential to try and sell something to someone. As an artist, it took me 50 years to be able to feel comfortable calling myself an artist.
Right.
I mean, I didn't even want to do that for a very long time because it's almost like pretentious.
Yes.
And whether,
yes, absolutely,
whether other people accept my work as art or not is always an issue. Because when I was trying to begin in the world of art, and from 8 years old till age 26, I was doing it just for myself. When I wanted to present myself in an art gallery at age 26, my work at that point that I had to offer was just photographs, but there was an issue between the photographers and the artists at that time who did not consider photography as an art. Now it's
there's some that still do,
right, and now don't, and now photography is considered part of the art world and is accepted as an art. Now the other issue is what I'm working with at present is digital work, which there's an issue. So I'm always on the cusp of being accepted in the art world as what I'm doing as art, because, it's a new form of creating,
Well, I mean, I actually had a conversation with somebody about this not too long ago, because they were, matter of fact, this person was a client, owned an art studio, digital art studio in Ottawa. And he says, we got into this whole debate whether he was an artist or not. My first question was, have other people called you an artist? And he went, yeah. And I said, well, that in your industry, that is a degree of accreditation. Right? People are paying you for a product.
So was he questioning it himself? Was he questioning himself?
Well, actually, his team was, because he had a whole bunch of like graphic artists and different guys from different fields. He had digital guys. He had boy, am I really going to get these terms screwed up? So if any of you are artists out there, take issue with it. But he had people who did, the storyboarding and all that other sort of stuff. So they all considered themselves artists in a particular field. And then he would be selling a lot of his stuff to the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. And I said, well, do you consider yourself to be an artist? And he goes, I'm not sure. I said, do other people consider you an artist? He goes, oh yeah, I get that called that a lot. And I said, well, that is your accreditation, buddy. Yeah, the fact that you're selling product.
Right.
Now, do you have to sell something to be an artist? No, I guess not. Unless you want to be a starving artist. There's always going to be that balance between your art and putting food on your table, unless, of course, you've got a trust fund somewhere. So,
well, when I did that first gallery show back in 1976, I was 26 years old. I felt that I at that point, I did that show. I had a sufficient number of images to do that show, and I was one of the first photographers to exhibit in this particular art gallery, which means that before that they had paintings and sculptures and drawings. So that was an acceptance by that particular gallery of what I was doing as art. But then I felt the results of that show made me feel that I better wait till I was 90. So I haven't hit that yet.
John had a very good point here.
Until I was 90, before I had enough work, sufficient amount of work, and was willing to sit there and wait for someone to come and buy my art. So I had a choice to go that route or to work commercially, which is the commercial artist is different. You see, there's all these different categories where you're working in fine art or you're working commercial art. Okay. And so then I went in the direction of working commercially, and I began being published in Vogue and New York Times and official different ads for people. And so that was a different direction, but I was continuously working on building up the work that I've been doing for my artistic direction, which is stuff I'm doing for myself. That's the way I considered it different. And that stuff, that work between 1958 and 2000, no one has seen yet. The stuff that's in my galleries now is work that I've created more recently, totally digital. So that's 310,000 images when I talk about that.
Right. John has a good point here. The thing about the term expert is that it has the incorrect implication that you know everything. And certainly that if it's not an implication, it's certainly a perception. And that immediately creates opposition and challenge. Maybe we should make room for imperfection. Absolutely.
And Christine even had a great ad here where she says, my biggest issue is that there's too much of the experts and strategists and gurus here, and it's hard to decipher those who are really at the top. I feel like they're getting lost in the shuffle. Well, I can tell you one thing for certain, two things for sure that I know. Crystal, if you come on Blab at 8 o'clock in the morning and they're here, and you come on Blab at 10 o'clock in the morning and they're here, and you come on Blab at 12 o'clock midday, they're here, and 1 o'clock and 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock and 9 o'clock, they can't be that much of an expert because they aren't getting hired by somebody.
Now that being said, you and I were on at 4 o'clock today.
No, I'm talking about the continuous times. Every time you pop on, they're on.
Now, so, my excuse was I was on.
I can prove that's not correct though. I could be working on my art at the same time I'm in a Blab and uploading images. And what's happening is I could be actually selling because my site is for sales only online. So I don't have to do anything but upload my images.
Yeah, it depends on the nature of your work. Walter, is if you're going to be a strategist or an expert or a guru, and that's how you're saying that you're putting food on your plate, you're probably not doing it from the confines of your swivel chair, especially if you're going to be a leadership consultant.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on, now it was kind of funny, you and I were on Blab this afternoon at 4 o'clock, but I only went on because I had a client that's actually into wearable tech, and I saw our social friends come on there. So let's talk about wearable tech for the military. I went, yeah, okay. But it's, yeah, you're right. I mean, there's people who live here, so it makes you wonder how they're making a living if they're going to be any of those other categories that we talked about, Gerald.
Yeah,
we touched on this last week.
Yeah, that is my challenge. I mean, because as much as I enjoy Blab and I love talking to you guys and hanging out, I can't be here all day, every day. Now, it was when a time when it first started and I was off for a weekend. I spent my time here to build a following purposely. Those 3 days I was here. Not all day, but most of the day. Now, if you do that and you see them here for 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, listen to me. Even if you do social media, right? And you are really great at what you do, somebody's hired you. So your job is not Blab. That's my point. You can't be here and be working somebody's social media campaign and do a blab all day, every day.
There's a
Now,
challenge.
let's not discount the idea that just because someone is not, whether they acknowledge themselves as an expert or whether they're not, they're, because of the nature of the medium that you're in, you are going to hear good ideas.
Absolutely.
Right. So using this as a undisciplined brainstorming operation may not be bad, but there's a lot of luck of the draw here.
All right. We have Crystal coming in. Hey there, Miss Lady. How are you?
Good.
Pleasure to meet you.
Hello.
Hi, Fred. Hi, Walter. I'm just putting in my earphones.
Okay, cool. Way to step it up.
Okay, can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in and say, so my thing is just very literal. So I'm a lifestyle blogger. I know there's a lot of people in here who do like sales and they're, into the whole, I guess it's called, I don't know, direct marketing and sales and that type of thing. For me, I'm a lifestyle blogger. I strictly make my money on writing content, and I work with brands because basically I built an audience, and brands, they see I have numbers. I'm a military lifestyle blogger. So when there's promotions with the military, they come to me. Thank you. And so it's a really simple thing. So I guess I get annoyed. I'm seeing a lot of people lately who will come on here and they say, like one of the last ones I seen was somebody who said they are WordPress strategists. I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know that was like a real job. And
WordPress strategist.
WordPress strategist. And you know what?
It's great if you work for WordPress.
Which is great if you actually work for WordPress. And you know what? I don't knock anybody's hustle. But here's the problem I do have. I'm by no means an expert coder. I don't know PHP. I know none of that. What I do know is that 6 years ago, I had, I guess, the sense enough to kind of learn about websites. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to pay somebody to help me build a nice WordPress site. And of course, I've had 6 years to kind of figure it out. But I think the biggest issue I have is when I see people on here who say, oh, I'm a WordPress strategist and this is what you need to do. And when I go to your site, you don't even have a search bar. Or I'm a branding strategist and your site is not even self-hosted. And you're saying you're going to help people create, a website and, you're going to write a book about, or you're writing a book about blogging. And yet your blog doesn't seem like something that would be something that can be monetized. In my niche, the kind of blogging I do, lifestyle blogging, brands look at aesthetics, they look at content, and unfortunately, yes, numbers do matter. Engagement matters, reach matters. I'm in some areas it's not all about the numbers, but in the area I'm in, it's all about the numbers, because if they're going to pay me big money to put up an ad on my site, or they want me to write an advertorial or what's called the sponsored post, they want some kind of return on investment, but they also want to make sure that even though I'm a blogger and not a celebrity, that I'm still representing them, that they chose someone who's a good representation. And so I'm seeing a lot of people on here who are going around and they're like, oh, I'm this big strategist and I'm a social media this. And I understand that, especially when it comes to like social media strategists, it doesn't always mean that you have to have 100,000 followers. I get that.
That's true.
But if I go there and you don't even have a Facebook page, forget not having followers. If you don't have a Facebook page.
I've seen that.
Yeah. Or you don't have a Twitter account.
The litmus test here is when someone calls themselves a strategist, ask them questions about strategy, not about social media.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, they call themselves any form of strategist. Don't ask them anything that's unique to that thing that they say they're a strategist of. Ask them about strategy. Ask them about things like what's the difference between a center of gravity and a line of operation. And you're going to get some really strange answers. You're going to get some highly perceptual ones, and your bullshit detector is going to start going off.
It goes off.
As Morgan was saying, in most organizations, is considered to have 10,000 hours. And that's not 10,000 hours in the coffee shop. That's 10,000 hours to be considered a pro or expert in actual terms. I wish, in fact, some of my golf pros had 10,000 hours. I got to afford better.
Isn't that another word, though, that they're using besides expert is strategy and strategist?
Yeah, that is another word.
They're very abused terms.
And it started, I think, strategy started in the stock market.
No, strategy started an awful lot
before
the stock market.
But as far as a term that's being used by so many people.
No. It goes far back, and most of the foundational stuff in terms of strategy goes back to Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's more of a military thing.
No,
Again,
that's a misperception as well. Strategy is about effects-based, producing effects to achieve a vision. Where everything else that a lot of guys, especially in business, confuse business planning with strategy. Business planning is a subset of strategy, right?
Yeah.
One is objective-based, the other one is effects-based. But it's more along the case of just, it's to be a person who talks about strategy. Generally, there is some professional accreditation that goes with that. Good example. So Morgan, you talk about the amount of hours. I'll use myself as an example. Just because I have a master's degree in strategic studies does not automatically make me a strategist.
Right.
Okay. Being the chief of staff of mission in Afghanistan probably is one of the ticks in the box I was looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
So it has to be a mixture of both education and practical experience.
Absolutely.
And
that's what I'm talking about.
Okay. So since you're talking about military,
seasoned leadership.
Yes.
Since you're talking about military, what's the difference between the word logistics and strategy?
Logistics is one of the 10 components of strategy to fulfill a strategy.
Okay.
In other words, logistics is essentially all the issues of sustainment that you need to carry out your strategy.
I see. Okay.
Actually, every strategy usually has a logistics plan or a sustainment plan.
And that's applicable in business too, right?
Yes.
Yes. So you have to, not only you have to sustain your client base, you have to sustain your own production base. And it's usually along things on the material line.
And I'd be willing to bet that a lot of people that talk about strategy don't know any of what you're talking about.
Well, that's true.
Oh, actually, first of all, there's a lot of really good accredited people in strategy, and they know exactly.
I think he's talking about blab strategists. I think that's what he's talking about.
That's what it is.
That's what I mean. Yes.
Yeah. Blab.
Since blab is a couple months old.
Right.
Yeah, it's not even.
If you were one of the first guys on blab, maybe you're a de facto blab strategist now. Who knows?
That's true. We have Morgan that wants to jump in here.
Okay,
so,
I'm gonna.
Okay, cool. And also D Scott, I got D that wants to jump in.
Wow.
So all right, no, Walter, I appreciate you, brother. Good Lord, he went so fast. Okay, Morgan and D, seats are open. My girl Tish is in the house. Hey Tish, how are you? Happy Monday.
By the way, Scott, logistics is not just moving material, it's also the production of material.
Here he comes now. D Scott is coming in, and I'm waiting on Mr. Morgan J to get in as well. Everybody's moving through cyberspace, the space we like to call cyber. If you guys could just do a little favor, tell a little bird so we can kind of keep.
John just said yes, Fred, but I have no idea what he's saying yes to. Maybe you heard my comment about looking for a good golf pro that actually has 10,000 hours.
Okay, Scott didn't make it. All right, here we go.
I think Scott's trying to come on again.
Scott's back again.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
You should get Morgan to jump in here too.
Yeah. Oh,
he's always played shy.
Morgan's not playing shy. I can't play shy if he wanted to.
I always thought of Morgan as being the shy, reserved type, quite frankly.
I'm the shy guy. Can't you tell?
No, you're the sensitive guy.
Oh man, welcome Scott. How are you?
Hey man, how are you doing tonight?
I am phenomenal, brother. Thanks for jumping in, man. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, it was one of the things I saw in profiles when I saw people proclaiming blab supremacy.
Blab supremacy.
Oh, wow.
That's a good strategic term.
That's a good term, yeah. It beats guru, I think.
That's a good
Did I just hear blab supremacy?
Oh Lord, here he is.
Hold up. Who's even claiming that? You
here we
can't
go.
even claim that.
I heard Morgan. Let me just share this out. Let's put it here. Let's change this to Blab.
I guess if you're going to have blab supremacy, you have to have the capability to ensure mutually insured blabduction.
There we go. Blab supremacy. We get that. We told the little bird.
Yeah. Everybody, if you could, we will tell a little bird here.
Yeah.
You know, I'm learning about these GIFs. I'm starting to be knowledgeable about how to make a GIF. I'm going to make one of BSA right there.
There you go.
Right now, he's not.
Any
BSA.
of you guys from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, by the way?
No, I'm in DC.
I was just going to say, neener.
Okay, well, Mr. Scott Smith, what say you, sir, about experts and gurus?
You know, it's always, you know, it just puts the red flags up, as they say, right? I mean, it's immediate, especially when things are changing so fast. I mean, I wasn't on Blab all weekend, and I come on here, and it's all different today. This whole thing changed up, so.
Yeah, it's all stuff going on.
Maybe I must be missing something. I must have missed an update or something because it looks the same to me.
Yeah.
Oh no, the whole screen is black now. It's changed. It's
yeah.
They've done some stuff to freak it out, as they say. They've changed some things.
Yeah.
Well, hello, Sharif. Welcome, Sharif. Mr. Morgan J. Ingram, the liberation sensation, the young lion himself. I'm not gonna call him BSA because we're not talking football today. So what say you, Mr. Morgan J. Ingram, about experts and gurus, fact or fiction, brother?
Hold on. What is up with this?
He's locked in a perpetual smile.
That was a good. It was a good freeze.
Yeah, that was a great freeze. It was like he took a picture of himself or something.
I now take selfies before I give out
enough.
merit. So that's
I'm not touching that.
Fair
one.
enough.
See,
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Fellas, that's what you, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, that's what you call blab supremacy, where you have to take a photo before you can speak.
I'm just surprised that's even a thing. I don't understand how you have blab supremacy. Anyways, me and Robert are the same on this. I don't like calling myself an expert because at least where I'm at right now, you know, learning about social media, you know, talking to startups about social media, that changes every single day. Like Blab literally just changed. So if I say that I'm a Blab supremacist or a Blab expert or guru, I just hopped on this platform. I have no idea what's happening right now with all this black stuff that's happening and new stuff that's going on. Yeah. I was like, I don't know what's going on now, so I'm no longer.
Wait,
yeah, mine hasn't changed, so I'm
feeling
a little left out.
It's like the whole screen is black.
Yeah.
All this. Hey, Morgan, I jumped on here and X'd myself out trying to find the record button. So yeah, that's how quick it changed. And we were just on here this afternoon. So
yeah. I was terrified. So that's what I'm saying. At least in this field of marketing and social media and all that stuff, I don't think you can really. It's hard to say that you're an expert because there's so much stuff that's changing. You may know a lot of stuff, but I think you just got to say you're an enthusiast or something like that. I just personally just don't like the word. If someone calls me it, that's fine. And you're a guru or you're extreme. I like strategist. I like that word. If someone's a strategist, they just understand the strategies to be successful on the platforms. But a lot of people just use expert in their bios just so that you'll buy their product or buy their workshop, and they have absolutely no idea what they're saying, or they just copied it from someone else. So that's how I really see it. And if someone doesn't really pique my interest in what they're actually doing on a individualized standpoint, and I don't see them doing it themselves, then I don't understand why I'd follow them. You know, if I have more followers than you and you're calling yourself an expert, that's definitely going to make things a little shady on my part. So I think more so when someone calls themselves an expert, I would definitely, that's high caution for me. And then I have to see if this person's actually good at what they do. And if they're good at what they do, then that's fine. But I think you just got to be careful nowadays. People are out there just trying to scam.
And usually it is done by people that have less accreditation and all that type of stuff. And again, to me, the challenge I have is that in most fields, you don't hear that term thrown around. Lawyers don't call themselves that. Athletes don't call themselves that. Doctors don't call themselves that. They are specialists. They specialize in a certain area. You can do that. just because, again, and I will say this one last time, just because you have experience at something does not mean you are good at it.
Now, there can be relative experience.
You have to be, you have to be prescriptive about the things that you're interested in. So, I mean, Scott's profile is a good example. He doesn't call himself a strategist. He says, listen, I do strategy, I do startups, I do social media, I do clean tech open. Bam. Okay. You look at Morgan's profile and it says, I'm like the greatest guy you've, no, it says motivational speaker, social media enthusiast.
You might, if you ever catch me with that kind of bio, just kick me out.
I'm the best thing since sliced bread. Sliced bread only being invented last week in New York. But no, this is motivational speaker, social media enthusiast. So, you look at things like this and you go, okay, that's descriptive. Okay, and now I know. Now my bullshit meter has gone down a bit, and that's generally the kind of profiles you kind of look for. Whether somebody is actually has a degree of expertise or seasoned experience, if you will, at a particular subject, you'll be able to find out in the first 5 or 10 minutes of a discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
and I've always said, you don't have to bloviate if you're great at what you do. It'll speak for itself. You don't have to be braggadocious and try to say, "Hey, look at me."
Braggadocious.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I'm calling you on that one, man.
We're gonna work that into the little bird.
Braggadocious is a word, sir.
Yeah,
it is a word.
Yeah.
Damn.
You can't just. I think a lot of people just try to read a book and then
they're promoting
an expert and they're like, "Well, I know everything now." I don't know.
Now, I just remember way back when I worked in retail banking and in the branches, back in mid 80s, we had one PC in the branch, and
dating yourself.
This is a product of the 80s, and so I knew how to use it. And I would always, people would come and ask me questions about the computer, and people, "Oh, are you the computer expert?" I said, I am not the computer expert. I'm called the expert only because I know more than the rest of the people here. Right? I mean, it was a relative thing.
Yes.
I was not an expert, but I was the go-to guy because they didn't even know how to turn the thing on. Right? And this was a DOS-based thing, right? I mean, this was way back.
I can date you on that.
Yeah, I can hear it.
I can date you on that. In the early 80s, when I was on exchange in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and I was a Canadian exchange instructor, and I was teaching U.S. Marine Corps guys in Fort Sill, Oklahoma. Great thing about PX is they sell a lot of stuff cheap.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And I said, Commodore 64 kilobytes.
Oh, there you go.
Who would want more?
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So I bought one of these things, and I bump in to Colonel Weber, he's the branch chief of the Marine Corps down there, and he goes, "What are you doing buying that?" I says, computer. Everyone's going to have one of these. Next day, he made me the chief instructor for digital warfare at the school.
There you go. Yeah, see.
And I'm there with the Commodore 64 book saying, okay.
Yeah.
So
right.
learning basic.
Not because you know so much, but because everyone knows so little.
Right. Absolutely.
There you go. And that may be relative, but it doesn't make you an expert. It just makes you a source for today.
Well, 3 weeks later, I was on a meeting in DC, not near DC, Fort Meade, Maryland. I have to go for a digital warfare meeting as the branch representative, and I'm going, "Oh yeah, this is great. You're going to have a U.S. Army digital warfare thing. Send the Canadian, yeah."
Hey, that's good stuff. I remember a friend of mine bought the K-Pro 10, which was operated on the CPM operating system, which is kind of that competitor to DOS. And he spent this extra money to buy the K-Pro 10 because it had a 10 meg hard drive instead of the K-Pro 4. What he was going to do with that extra 6 megs of memory, we couldn't figure out why he was wasting his money.
Yep.
So the world has come a long way. When
DOS 2.2, which cacked out at 512K because who would want more?
Yeah. So experts and gurus, yeah, they may be the expert in the room, but big fish, small pond, something like that.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot of those, and
Yeah.
it's I just don't like the terms. Certain terms kind of just do something to me. They really bother me. Yeah, because I
That's
mean,
exactly it,
it
Morgan.
was originally created about spiritual leaders and stuff, and now they're using it in business terms. That just, how do you do that?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, pretty soon, and I'm really getting ready to make a joke of myself here. They're going to be calling themselves business reverends and business preachers because
I think you're going to be
a spiritual term and turn it into a business term. I don't understand.
No, you're going to be the blab czar.
Right.
It stings.
Hey, you gotta clean it. You gotta clean it up. I'm not here to make sure blab is what it should be. We clean up all the junk. Excellent contact, Gerald the blab czar.
Absolutely not.
Blab czar. There we go.
I think people forgot what it really means to get there. I think, Gerald, I think you bring up a great point, and I want to even further this, is that people forget that, we have to be somewhat of a novice or an apprentice or junior level to get to that expert level. You can't just put it in your bio and just be an expert because you did one webinar or did watch one workshop or listen to someone for 2 weeks. You can't just be an expert. And I think a lot of people, because we have so much information, they believe that they can be on that level. But it's really into, if you hop in this seat and I ask you a question, do you have to look at your notes to answer the question, or can you look at me in the eye and actually answer this question and put it in the emphasis of my life? I think that's when truly you can understand, or someone understands their skill and they can actually teach you what that means, instead of being like, well, I actually don't know, get back to me. I think that's what really shows the real actual.
And when we start getting a more
of the industry,
wider spectrum of experience, expertise, pick a word, don't care which one, of practitioners on Blab, and not just the little bubbles they have on the side. I mean, first of all, they need more bubbles by subject. That's when I think the medium itself will start becoming more disciplined, because it'll become, when you start having these communities of practice are usually pretty good at disciplining themselves. So like this Thursday, I'm going to have Mark Mansfield join me on talking about business wargaming and business red teaming. And his company does in the States does the same thing that mine does, and there's a few of us around the globe that do this kind of work. And he says, "Hey, that's great. What's the community of practice like?" I said, "Well, right now I'm glad it'll be you and me." He says, "Well, why the hell am I doing this?" It's because we're in a joint venture partnership, pal. This is what joint venture partners do for each other. And
Yeah.
It sounds like I'm going to get screwed. I said, no, it'll be cool. Trust me, man.
Hey, you get some content recorded. You'll be able to dissect it after the fact.
Boom. Right. Put it on other media, or get people inculcated to the subject.
Yeah.
Now, would I have one of my banking clients come on here? No. Would I have any of my influence operations clients come on here? Absolutely not.
Hey, I'll tell you what. I had a client. She's a PR person, and we had her on last week just talking about crisis management, crisis communication. And I'll tell you what, I live in Oregon, and we signed off and shut down right about the time the 911 calls were going in for the shooting down at Roseburg.
Oh, wow.
And, we were talking about schools and nonprofits, especially small organizations, needing to have content or having crisis programs set up, at least some sort of protocol set up. And it's the same thing. We didn't have a big audience for it, but I said, Marcy, we're going to get on. We'll probably get a few people. We'll get some discussions, but you'll get something out there that you'll be able to use. And it's there every day. Friday this week, or last week, someone called a bomb threat into my kid's school. And so they evacuated 2:30 in the afternoon. School ends about 3:00, right? So about 2:30, someone called in, they evacuated. And I'll tell you what, that school is prepared. Every one of those kids was accounted for. They got them all out of the building. They put them out into the football field where they have fenced perimeter with one gate. Families drove in, all the notifications. They went out on voicemail, phone calls, text messages, email, and the families that came up, parents did not get out of the car. They told who's their kid. They came out of the football field into the car and gone, right? And those are road buses were taken care of. But
it's a sad comment that you have to have that in schools these days. But it also begs a bigger question. After what happened in Connecticut, what was it, a couple of years ago now?
Yeah.
Why isn't every school like that?
Well, yeah. And so what I'm saying is that, sometimes you have clients and you go, well, we don't exactly know who the audience is today, but you're going to get them out there and record that content and be able to share it out, right? So Marcy now has some content that she can work with and some today examples that she can use, Now, I'll tell you what, we're on discussions of experts and gurus. Neither of us are experts or gurus, but we do have some information to share.
Absolutely.
And it's going to be valuable to somebody. And in some cases, it's going to be relative, and that's great.
Well, that's what Gerald was saying earlier.
And that's exactly what I was saying.
Using it as a medium by which you can exchange information and share experiences that promote further thought and discussion, great. But don't call yourself an expert if you're not.
So I see. Robert came in. Robert's here. I'm going to jump out of the box because I'm the expert in fifth grade microbiology or something here. So, or seventh grade. I guess it's seventh grade. I gotta go be the expert for my son.
Oh man,
we've all been there.
No. Oh gosh.
Yeah. So the way it works, of course, is when we're doing his homework, I read the chapter parts that I need and help him answer the questions. Therefore, I'm an expert.
Because your dad, you know everything, right?
Yeah, that's it. I tell him I had to take the dad classes. I got a certificate, but I'm bad at filing, so
it's really great to actually have you jump in, Scott. Man, I appreciate it.
Hey, Gerald, I appreciate you, man. Just sharing and helping folks. Keep it going, Morgan. I'm following you. We're following each other. So life is good, boys. Have fun.
Right. Have a great evening. Thank you so much. And I wanted to touch back on something Morgan said earlier about the challenge of being in this information age. Well, we're in the technological age, and they're getting that information through technology. So that's even more scary because it's like at the drop of a dime. And I always talk about, I feel there's a major difference between applied knowledge and implied knowledge. Just because you read something doesn't mean you understand it. Doesn't mean you can apply it properly to be able to utilize that skill. And a lot of people pick up a book, they watch a video, they heard it, now I know it. And you can't tell them anything. And they end up running out there being ignorance on fire, blabbing off at the mouth about something. They have no clue of what is really going on.
Fire.
But they can tell you, no, this is what's happening. And they're telling you like they lived that. They're telling you like that is what they know when it's what they've heard. And
well, a good example is the thing I told you last week about there was a discussion going on Blab about genetically modified foods. And I said, oh, I'll look in on that because I've got some GMO clients. And I said, oh, I'll hear what they're saying. And so there's a woman who's apparently an expert on genetically modified organisms and saying, if you eat GMOs, it'll change your DNA. And I went, wait a minute. It's been 40 years since I took Organic Chem 101, and I only took it to meet nursing students. And even I know that's wrong. You know, based on that theory, you'd explode the first time you ate something from Taco Bell. I mean,
Lord knows, we don't want to talk about the meat of Taco Bell or McDonald's.
Don't talk about that.
That is not even about experts and gurus. That's about what you're doing to the interior of your body.
But the point being is that there was a lot of people sort of doing this, and I'm saying, okay, this was like people who say, you know, don't get flu shots, or this is like people who say, don't get your kids inoculated for measles, or, you know, whatever. It's this is the problem with social media. Social media is great. I think 90% of the stuff going on in social media is fantastic. It's not a revolution, but it is an evolution, and it's where we're going. Don't call it a revolution. It's really an evolution. But that being said, there's that 10 to 20% there, and I'm pulling some numbers out. I know how I look at things when I'm looking at stuff on the web, and I'm going, no, that's 100% horse flop. But there's a lot of people who won't know that it's horse flop.
That's true.
And then people don't get their kids inoculated, or people don't eat vitamin A enriched genetically modified rice and things like that. I mean, it's just, there's some scary things that are going on out there.
That's
anyway.
True. That's true. And I know Morgan wants to talk about the ignorance on fire. That has bothered me to the utmost for a while. Seeing people that hear something they don't really understand, which is why, look, I always tell people it's the reason why we have teachers, professors, why I feel that coaches and those things, coaches and mentors and all that stuff is necessary. It's to help you process information that you may not understand right away. Because if you could just pick up a book and read it and know everything you need to know, there'd be no need to go to school ever. There would be no college. There would be no technical institutes, any of that stuff. So that is when it becomes, like Morgan said, well, I'll say it, it becomes frightening.
Well, intellect without discipline is very, very dangerous.
Yes.
It's so scary, guys. It's scary because, a lot of people overcompensate what they're talking about. And this is just me personally, at least coming from people that, they'll read, you guys, everyone knows this book, Think and Go Rich.
Yes.
It's a fantastic book. A lot of great concepts, but people read this book nowadays, at least from my generation, they read it and think they're going to be the next thing.
Billionaire, not millionaire now.
Yeah, the next billionaire. They just think that, oh my gosh, I read this book, I'm going to become a billionaire now. And you can't do that because you have, and then this is what I read from the Law of Success. It talks about we have really the potential and all the knowledge in our head to be great. But you won't be able to do anything until you have accurate thought and have a definite chief aim. And it talks about that a lot of times. And so if you don't have accurate thought with all the knowledge you have, then you basically just have your brain, you just have a bunch of knowledge. You have no idea what to do with it. That's why you need, and it says in the book too, that's why you need a mentor and a coach, because it's basically the paddle for your boat. It's the fuel for your engine. It's the gas for your car. You won't be able to get really much anywhere without someone guiding you in the direction you need to go. You have to have someone to invest into you with all the knowledge that you have, or you're just going to be everywhere and you're not going to have accurate thought and have the accurate decisions and have the right strategy. So that's my problem, is a lot of people get hype on fire after they read a book or they watch a webinar and they think they can take over everything, but there's no basically strategy behind what they're doing, and they don't have someone guiding them. And I think that's one of the problems. I think that I get back
to the issue of discipline. I had a client a while back got off an airplane, says, I bought this great book in Dulles Airport, and I think we should do this. It's a whole new concept. And I went, no, it's not a new concept. Someone has just rewrapped the new concept and put a label on it and wrote a book. But this is actually foundational stuff from a long time ago. There was I was on a tweet chat tonight with Lead with Giants, and they were talking about vulnerability and leadership is a new concept. Really? Since when? Who says? Some of the best leaders we've ever had, last thousands of years, have been self-effacing leaders. They were ones who didn't wallow in their shortcomings, but they were generally pretty sure about what they were and made sure that they had good people that backfilled those. This goes all the way back to what Charlemagne used to write in the Christ. That was 1,500 years ago.
Right.
So, yeah, you see a lot of that repackaging. So when I say about leadership, guys, there's nothing new in leadership. It's mostly repackaged old stuff. And I tell people always go back to first principles. There's 11 or 12, fundamental principles of leadership. It doesn't matter, who was written by or whatever, but they all pretty much say the same thing, just different words. And so there's 12 foundational concepts of leadership. Stick to those, and you know what? You don't need anything else. But now, I'm not going to, get mad if some guy's making a buck off it. I just don't like it when they abuse it.
Yeah. And that's the major problem that we have with a lot of the things that they do. So This conversation has been something I was hoping Robert was going to come in, Morgan, because Robert has a lot to say about this.
He has a lot to say on this. This is funny.
But
I noticed that Benny Randall's been very, very quiet this evening.
Oh no, Benny is.
I'm getting the odd amen, and I heard a term the other day, like Oprah on a glazed ham. And I'd never heard that before, and I thought it was hilarious when I heard it, and then I had to look up the whole, Oprah had an eating problem or something. I don't know, but anyway, maybe a tad insensitive.
Well, Benny is over there being too sexy for us right now because he has a blab coming up, and he is Benny Randall, aka the Motivator, Mr. Sexy himself. So right now he's got to get sexified and prepared to be extra sexy on that blab because it won't be right.
So are you saying it takes him a long time to get sexified? Or he's just naturally that way?
So you're saying he's not sexy at all?
Sexification is a process. See, I'm making now that is a colloquialism. I'm going to tweak that. Sexification is a process. So he's got to go through a process because it takes a certain amount of je ne sais quoi.
Man, it's hard to keep a straight face during this conversation.
I don't know what's going on.
To get
I don't know what's going on.
Enough to be.
Man,
Benny
I think
Randall.
This is the time where you should stop recording. This is after party stuff.
AKA the Motivator. So, yeah, please stay on top.
Well, maybe some people just do it naturally. I mean, I noticed that when you and I were going to do our first blab together, you were late because you had car trouble. So I'm sitting there by myself on a blab screen for like 20, 25 minutes. And it's like, there's crickets going on in the background and stuff like that. And so, you know what, I can go up and make myself a sandwich and won't make any goddamn difference. And then he comes on 25 minutes late. And all of a sudden, 12 women show up.
Oh my God.
You gotta watch out for him.
That is not an exaggeration.
That is an exaggeration.
I don't even doubt it.
There's a certain amount of empiricism and positivism that's telling me something here. Okay.
Morgan, are you going to co-sign that, Morgan?
Okay. Yeah,
thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
You did a poem one day, and then I already told you guys. You guys need to remember this. Gerald was doing a poem, guys. He said a poem, and then all of a sudden he created his own blab. It was like I don't even know what he was doing. And he had all females in his blab. I tried to get in, and he kicked me out.
So, whatever. Now, that is a lie.
This is real. Like, he had all females in his blab, 3 females in the square.
I don't know who to believe here.
Gerald,
I'm kind of leaning towards Morgan.
Yeah, and then he was just reciting poetry. And any guy who came in kicked him out. I was like,
that is a total fabrication.
Wow.
I will not stand for you falsifying information in front of this audience of people and on the record. We will not stand for
Gerald DuBose.
Watch out for Gerald DuBose poetry.
Thank you, Tish. Yes, I don't do stuff like that. See, now
I think Benny's on our side, though.
Let me. Oh, Benny, you can't. Benny Randall, you cannot co-sign that. I can't go as deep as Benny, but Benny Randall you cannot co-sign that. So I'm going to go off the record right now. And I appreciate everybody tuning in to Great O'Clock. We're going to have the after party for everybody watching on the replay. Thanks for coming to check it out. And we will be back Wednesday evening for another Great O'Clock. Mr. Fred O'Ban, thank you for sitting in, riding with us this evening.
Pleasure.
I appreciate you always. Mr. Morgan J. Ingram, Liberation Sensation, a.k.a. DSA, Baby Stephen A. over there in the corner. We appreciate Benny, Tish, Danielle, my boy D. Scott in the house, and everybody that's tuned in. Thanks for coming, and we will see you on Wednesday for Great O'Clock, 8 p.m.